Alright YouTube, Grimjaw King Reviews here, and today I'll be reviewing Tower of God, Chapter 143. So, three things about this chapter. 1. Khun, the blue-haired dude who was always with Bomb in the beginning. Yeah, he's finally back on the scene, which is fucking great, because he's one of my favorite characters. Not gonna lie. 2. Freaking Daniel. Oh my god, bro. Your backstory. Yeah, about that. And then, 3. Zhao Wangman? The weak fisherman from part 1? Yeah, he's not so weak anymore. So, let's jam. Okay, so, as I initially thought, this chapter opens up with the blue-haired guy who showed up last chapter. Yeah, well, he was reviewed to be Khun. And, man, does Rachel look pretty fucking nervous. Because keep in mind, she kinda spilled the beans about her wanting to kill Bomb while she was still in Khun's group. So she fled and she wasn't expecting to see him again. And, of course, big surprise, Rachel's group doesn't know how he got up there. But, damn if Khun didn't look like a badass when they gave us a full panel. And, yeah, the reason he got here without, them finding out is that, the crocodile dude, yeah, see, he told Khun about all of Rachel's traps, so all he had to do is, avoid those traps, and, he was fine. But, yeah, it turns out that the elevator that all the regulars were using, the one that was guarded by the Guardian on the platform, yeah, see, that was I guess you could say fake, in the sense that while it went up there, it wasn't the actual elevator for, the platform. It was one of many, and essentially the main elevator was located near the control center, which, going off by what Khun told us, it was not easy to get to. See, the control center in itself is, it's a control center. And as such, ordinary regulars like, Bomb and Rachel and all those guys, they're not allowed to be there because, they don't have administrative privileges. Well, see, the way he got up there was pretty badass. And, hot damn, if Khun isn't a badass, then I don't know what is. See, what he did is he broke the elevator when he found out that he couldn't use it, and then he used his lighthouse as, an elevator in itself to ride all the way up the elevator shaft. And, this was only possible because, the train captain couldn't be found, and the, Guardian was all tied up because, Rachel's group, when they were getting all this set up, they wanted to, give the VIP treatment to Yura, and, yeah, that pretty much helped Khun get up there. And this Guardian that, was supposedly, locked away, yeah, he's the same Guardian who's currently giving, the other group near the bottom of the stairway a whole bunch of problems. So, then, of course, Rachel tries to be all cool about it. She's like, don't worry, Yara, we got this, just, go get on the train, we'll be there shortly. But, yeah, see, she didn't really understand how strong Khun's group was, because essentially it was Khun, Ya Wangman, and this other girl who I believe was, their third strongest group in their party. But she's not really important in this chapter because it's pretty much about Khun and Ya Wangman. See, the reason Ya Wangman was there was because he wanted to bring Kasano back to, Huryeon. The dude who was known as the Devil of the Right Hand? Yeah, see, back in, I guess you could say, part 2? Yeah, back in, part 2, he had ended up being unconscious because when him and Kasano fought, he lost. And John Wangman found out that, like, if they can bring Kasano back to her, like, Young, there's a chance that he'll wake up. So, that's pretty much that scene. And then, the next panel is we get a little bit of, like, Daniel's backstory. And essentially, what, Aka Williams and Mr. Burrow were saying about how can you be alive? I could have sworn I saw you die the first time on the Hell Train. Yeah, see, it turns out that he did, in fact, die on the Hell Train several years ago. And, I find myself thinking, good God, how long do these people live? I mean, they all look relatively in between, like, 20 and, like, 40. And if they can live for hundreds of years, good God, imagine how old the heart is. But, it turns out that Daniel died in order to bring back one of his friends named Rowan. And see, the original group was Daniel, Rowan, Mr. Burrow, and Aka Williams. But along the way, Rowan ended up dying, so they were all looking for a way, to revive him. Well, it turns out that upon his death, he figured out exactly how to revive Rowan, but it involved using his powers. It's not exactly revealed who he is in this chapter, but it can be assumed that it has some sort of relation to the Foog. Because keep in mind, like, the Foog, the last time the Hell Train was available, killed everybody on the train. Which makes me wonder, it can't be the same train that, Rowan and them are on, because Mr. Burrow and Aka Williams are still alive. But it actually, I don't know, it kind of makes sense, because the Foog did state that he was going to leave something on the train, and when he came back, it was going to, change everything, which I guess that could be tied to the resurrection stuff. Maybe the Foog is intending on, like, resurrecting some ancient evil that could put up a fight against the Hard. But I don't know, that remains to be seen. So yeah. It also looks that the reason Daniel left the original group was because they left Rowan to die. Because essentially, like, what you can imply from this chapter is, like, it was some major fight. Rowan managed to get, dealt a fatal wound. But since Mr. Burrow and Aka Williams weren't strong at the time, they fled. And Daniel stayed behind to try to, save her. But, yeah, that didn't really work. So he's like, you guys are nothing but trash for leaving our friend behind. In my eyes, you don't deserve to live. He then proceeds to charge up this, like, really, really badass looking purple attack. And you can tell it's, really strong because when he fires it, it, like, annihilates, like, just straight up annihilate the stairways that they're on. Like, it turns into bits of rock. And literally, the only one who's able to get across is, like, Bomb, because, he's actually pretty strong. But he overheard Daniel talking about how his power can bring people back and that he is really strong. But Bomb's like, who's this he speaks of? So then it switches back over to Khun's group. And yeah, it looks like Kasano is about to fight, Ja Wangman. And yeah, we get the first glimpse of his new power, and it actually looks kind of weird. Like, essentially, it looks like a row of dive balls from Pokemon on a board with a spool attached to the end of it that looks like fish lines on the spool. And I mean, it makes sense because Ja was the fisherman in their group. But I don't know, that power looks really, really weird. But yeah, apparently those Pokeball-looking things are called Shinso bombs. And yeah, when it activates, it literally looks exactly like a Pokeball. It has the whole hits the ground, top pops open, a beam shoots out. But that's where the similarities end, because essentially that beam is like a condensed form of Shinso, and it can be directed by Ja with his hand, kind of like Byakuya in Bleach with Senju and Sakura, how he can direct that with his hands. Ja can direct the Shinso ball the same way. And that Shinso ball is actually ridiculous because it looks like the ball at Shinso is some sort of like internal damaging energy attack. I think it's eternally damaging because like every place that it hits, it emits like this strange noise. Now this strange noise could be due to like the Shinso like overexciting the cells, but I think it's some sort of sonic weapon. It doesn't show what it is, but I imagine it's, like some sort of sonic attack that can hit everywhere at once. It would explain why like when Jaw's about to use a fight, he's like, I finally figured out something to get around your defense when he was about to fight Kasuno. And keep in mind, Kasuno's pretty like immune to anything Shinso. So it would have to be some sort of sonic attack to affect him. I don't know, tell me what y'all think in the comments below. And then, the chapter ends with Khun walking up to Rachel and he's like, yeah, so you got a lot of explaining to do. Because keep in mind, he overheard Rachel planning to kill Bomb, and since Bomb was his friend, and Bomb told Khun all about how Rachel was like his will to live, he probably wants to know why the hell she wants to kill him. And you can see on her face, like the way they animated that, she can tell she's about to get like either a really bad scolding, a really bad beatdown, or a combination of the two. So I can't wait for the next chapter to come out next week, because, man, with the stuff we learned in this chapter, that being that Daniel's actually really strong, and that his reason for fighting them is kind of reasonable, with the whole, you left our friend to die, I don't like y'all anymore, and I figured out how to bring her back. Yeah, that thing. That too, Khun is actually pretty badass in this chapter. While we don't get to see him fighting, the way they did his character design, it looks like he's changed like a lot. And that, 3, Jia Wangman looks like he's gotten a lot stronger. Because in part 2, when they showed him initially fighting, he didn't have any of this. His Shinso ball didn't even look like a Pokeball. He couldn't control it with his hand, and it was relatively limited in its range. But what we see in this chapter is him, pretty much manipulating it as either if it was like Byakuya using his symbol in Sakura. So, this is Grimjaw King Reviews signing off. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, people, have an awesome day.